Senior Analyst at Forrester Research. And also joining today is Yash Shah, the CTO and founder of Intech, and myself, Brad Winkler, Vice President of Sales and Marketing here at Intech. This ITSM in 30 webinar series is really designed for the busy executive looking for industry trends and to kind of hear on how your peers are dealing with the many challenges that they are facing on a regular basis. This will be our third session since May, and it's been great to see such a great number of repeat attendees. We're trying to create a session that continues to take a number of looks at the service desk from both internal within the organization, from perspectives outside the organization, and kind of give you a number of different things. And we've been fortunate to have quite a number of guest speakers coming to this. Feel free to suggest any topics that you'd like us to continue to add as we continue to evolve this session. And again, feedback is greatly appreciated. For those of you who don't know Intech, we were founded almost 15 years ago and have been providing services of on-demand ITSM solutions to the market. And our solution portfolio includes InfraDesk, our on-demand service desk, our on-demand online ITSM training, and our ITSM consulting services. And here are just a few of the many customers at the bottom that you can see that we've worked with over the years. Over the years, we have communicated quite a bit with our consultants and our different people that we work with, receiving quite a lot of information. And what we've seen to be most consistent is these six areas of concern. We're often hearing that the expensive to buy and implement is a problem that people face, long implementation times and the cost to do that, complex applications based upon a lot of legacy architecture, and facing with forced and expensive upgrades is something that we very commonly hear, and I'm sure a lot of you are nodding your heads in the audience. Customizing costly maintenance and a lack of integration of the idle modules. These are just to name some of these, and these are things that we believe that we wanted to address in these sessions. And the role of the service desk continues to evolve, and we know that Eveline will provide us with some very great insight. Eveline delivers strategic guidance for the infrastructure and operation professionals and vendors, and her current research focuses on idle and implementation of IT service management and business service management, and many other aspects of the IT operation. And we're very fortunate to have Eveline join us today. And at this point, I'd like to turn the presentation over to Eveline and welcome her to this group.
Great. Thank you very much, Brad, for this wonderful introduction. And good morning, good day, good afternoon to the people on the phone here across the continent. Glad that we can get your attention, particularly in this time of soccer championships. I'm a big soccer fan, and you can hear my accent. I'm from Germany, so I'm hoping that we can make it as a German country into the final. But today we'll talk about the service desk, and as the title says here, what's the right IT service management model for your organization? Quickly, what I think I would like to start out with is this picture, and it really gets to the point. There's a lot of options which can underpin service management preparations for this new era we're entering. We are coming out of a very difficult 2 years, recessions, economic situations, crisis all over the world. We're not done yet, but we're hitting a place where I think we need to start looking at some old models and look at some new models. So quickly, the agenda. A few things to begin with, some budget details, some challenges we're seeing and I'm seeing with my clients. I've been with Forrester now since 4 years, almost 4 years, and working very much in the service desk space, including asset and a few other topics. Then I want to share with you some of the fears we're seeing, and then some of the goals and initiatives my clients are taking. And then we get into the beef of what I wanted to share with you is around the alternatives for what we can do today and what should we look at. And then I'll end up with some summary, some conclusions, and hand it back over to Brad for additional content and Q&A there at the end. So let's kind of look back. A year ago, things were actually looking fairly black, fairly dark. If we look at where we were in June of 2009, many clients were in a very, very tough spot with regards to making decisions for new tools and in terms of what they needed to do to advance in ITSM. This particular picture here shows, to some extent, a comparison of 2008 and 2009 budgets, and this is IT US budget. Of course, it didn't look much different in Europe, and you can see here the outsourcing if we look at IT outsourcing down here, those two and the IT staff and salary were the only two really, besides communication equipment, which were positive. The rest, there were still some challenges in terms of spending. What the good news is, if we look at 2010, we just recently did an IT forum in Las Vegas and also a variety of I/O forums across the world. For that, we actually dug a little bit deeper and found that there is a change, a delta of 19%, higher than that actually, 19.6% in spend available to infrastructure and operations groups. So that's the good news, that there is additional budget showing up so far, what we have seen in 2010 being 6 months inside 2010, which really means that we might get, for decision makers, if you are a decision maker on the phone, and of course management and sourcing folks, we will see additional spend. However, we need to think about how and what are we going to actually use this particular money for. Looking at the challenges, this is a relative complicated slide, but let me try to explain. So if we look at IT operations, there's a variety of challenges they're facing. First of all, of course, the demands of the business. The business wants more and more on a daily basis. That means that service consumption is, of course, very much driven by that demand of the business, and both also the service delivery. The service delivery and service consumption is supported through new technologies, be it clouds, be it virtualization, any of the new technologies, Web 2.0 or even now 3.0. Social media has had a lot of influences. Now, on the inside, we see there needs to be satisfaction by the customer with regards to what they are getting and how they're receiving these services. And there needs to be justification by both the business and IT that these services can be developed. And at the same time, there needs to be adoption both of new technologies, but also adoption of new services. So you can see to some extent a variety of challenges which we can see today in infrastructure and operations. Now, how have we actually done some trade-offs, and what has changed with regards to some of the things people are doing and versus in relationship to financial, relational, architectural, and contractual decisions? So many of my clients have seen a shift from a long-term to a short-term, meaning that the recession really has pushed our clients much more to look at, from a financial perspective, what are some cost savings we can evaluate and see today, instead of total overall value, long ROI, and return on investment. Also, when we look at relations, there's a lot more take orders instead of a lot of more of this in the past, value-added suppliers. A little bit of a shift there. From a build to the future or for the future, a lot of clients are saying we need to run what exists today, and we need to move this fairly fast and quickly. We need to implement rather fast. We cannot wait 6 to 9 months down the road. And then from a contract perspective, a lot more cost transparency is needed for decision making and for solutions which are put in place instead of this long-term view of outcome-based visibility. So you can see here a shift more closer to a short-term strategy. Now, of course, there needs to be a balance, and there is to some extent a balance there. When we asked our IT customers here, relatively small sample size, but this is fairly representative, we asked them, how would you rate your level of concern about the following possibilities? 66%, of course, have said we're very much worried about supporting the business growth. As customers are clients, the business is starting to grow again. We have downsized, and we're in a challenge. But the second one I think I want to focus on is that they're worrying about meeting the financial plan. Even so, we have seen an increase of a delta of 19.6%. I think it's from a negative minus 12% of spend to a plus 9.6 or something like that. They're still worried about meeting financial plans. So tremendous fear there with regards to meeting that value and at the same time meeting that financial plan. Now, the tide in the economy is turning. We're seeing positive things. We're seeing positive things across the world. Little bit of challenges. Well, I don't want to underestimate it, but the challenges in Europe are, of course, entering back into the United States. But we were much better off. We are much better off than we were. With that, however, asking for, and when we asked about goals and initiatives with regards to what do our customers do, when we asked how important is each of the following business goals to an internal IT organization when you make software decisions, the majority you can see here, 60, almost 89% said it's very important or important that we reduce costs. Even so, more so than the process execution speed. So cost reduction still is number one priority with regards to IT when they make decisions around things they want to do in the future. Let's switch gears a little bit. So we talked about what's happening in the world from the economy, nothing new there for you. The good news that there is some spend coming, but at the same time, still customers are focusing on cost reduction. Now I want to introduce a term which we call inside Forrester the MOOS, which stands for the Maintaining and Operation of the IT Organization's Systems Environment. MOOS really is what it takes to keep the lights on. And as you can see here, we've broken this into the different verticals. As you can see, the MOOS spending of an employee, for example, in the financial insurance business or in the utilities and telecom, is typically about 80% of the budget. So 75 to 80% of IT's budget is to keep the lights on and the things going. Very high. That allows only 25% of the budget to go to innovation, which really, if we think about in our own organizations, that doesn't give us a lot of opportunities to do some spend. So what we need to think about in all verticals, maybe not as much here in the retail and wholesale, but all verticals need to start thinking about how can we reduce the MOOS. And it sounds a little funny when I say that, and I'm actually stealing that from a colleague of mine, Andrew Bartles, but reducing the MOOS means to spend money smarter so that we actually implement things which improve our value, but at the same time reduce our MOOS in such a way that we can do innovation. So reducing it down to maybe a 60% is very, very important. And top mind of many clients I'm working with, and goes right along the trend of what we're seeing of SaaS, software as a service, which we're talking about today. A couple more things. As we love to share data, as I'm an analyst, and I really want to drive home the point, here if we look at the North America, this recession, there was some shift on what people have been wanting to do and are saying. When we asked which of the following actions has your company already taken or do you expect to take this year as a result of the current economic conditions, you can see there's an increased amount of application outsourcing, infrastructure outsourcing, and using of contractors and consulting in areas where it is possible and from a compliance perspective feasible, because we do also have to worry about that. But actually beautiful to see that, because we're starting to my clients and many clients are realizing that there are alternatives out there which we can leverage. If we look at the EMEA response, the European response, very similar with regards to either already taking the actions of outsourcing, application outsourcing, infrastructure outsourcing, and leveraging of consultants. So they're, again, thinking smarter instead of working harder, really trying to reduce the MOOS and leveraging some alternative business models going to the outside, which is actually fantastic. So my point really is IT should consider alternative business models to reduce the MOOS, this maintenance of the ongoing systems environment. How can we shift that MOOS so that we have more dollars innovating things such as upgrading WAN, LAN, do